Good day everyone, I'm Maureen S. Villanueva.
I'm Trisha Macy Prades.
The discussion for today is about mythology, particularly the topic about the gods, with subtopics regarding the Titans and the 12 great Olympians, the lesser gods of Olympus, the gods of the waters, the underworld, the lesser gods of earth, and the Roman gods. In this discussion, we are going to narrate the myths and introduce the gods and goddesses through symbolic approach, as stories and as allegories of natural events. The main reference in this discussion is Edith Hamilton's book Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes.
So, to provide a brief review about mythology, mythology is composed of stories about gods, goddesses, heroes, and creatures, generally fictitious narratives that explain human nature as well as natural phenomena. So, let's move on to our first topic. As shown in the screen is the family tree of the Greek divinities, which was divided into three groups, namely the gods, the titans, and the Olympians. So let us first briefly discuss the gods. So the Greeks believed that when the universe was formed, they then created the gods. So Father Heaven, also called Uranus, and Mother Earth or Gaia, who were considered the first parents. So they had three kinds of children, but we will only focus on the Titans.
For countless years, the Titans, also known as the Elder Gods, prevailed in the universe, for they were of great number, of immeasurable size, and of extraordinary strength. Among the Titans is Cronus, or in Latin, Saturn, was the most important Titan who dominated over the others until Zeus, his son, conquered the throne. Other Titans were Rhea, Cronus' wife, Ocean and his wife Tethys, and Coeus and Phoebe. These Titans gave birth to the succeeding generations in the powerful family.
Narrowing down to the third generation, the focus of this discussion will be the 12 great Olympians which made up a divine family. So they were the offsprings and or the grandchildren of the Titans. So they were called the Olympians for their Olympus was their abode. So a dwelling that is of perfect blessedness. And the names that you are seeing in the screen are the 12 powerful Olympians. So let's get to know them one by one.
To begin with, Zeus is one of the sons of Cronus and Rhea. His Roman name is Jupiter. He was the most powerful Olympian as he was the one who dethroned their father Cronus. He was the supreme ruler, the lord of the sky, the rain god, and the cloud gatherer. He was the mightiest Olympian, and so, even the combination of all the other divinities' powers were incomparable to that of Zeus. As we know, he has a wife, and that is Hera. However, he fell in love multiple times with different women, with whom he had many children, who are to be introduced later. His breastplate was the aegis, and his destructive weapon was his thunderbolt. The sacred bird to him was the eagle, and the tree, the oak.
One of the 12 Olympians is Hera. So Hera was the wife and sister of Zeus. She was the daughter of Cronus and Rhea, and her Roman name is Juno. She is the goddess of marriage, hence, she is the one that secured the protection of family and women's welfare. Nevertheless, she was well known for punishing every woman that her husband Zeus fell in love with. So the cow and the peacock were sacred to her, and Argos was her favorite city.
The second in greatness is Poseidon, whose Roman name was Neptune. He rules the sea, thus he was called the god of the sea. He had a magnificent palace beneath the sea, yet he often stayed in Olympus. His wife was Amphitrite, Titan Ocean's granddaughter. Poseidon was always portrayed as the god with the trident, a three-pronged spear. He also controls the storm and the calm, and he was called the Earth Shaker, for he shakes and shatters whatever he wants with his trident. He was connected with bulls and horses. He actually gave the first horse to man, for which he was also honored.
Next is Hades. Hades is the third brother of Olympians. He is the god of the underworld who rules over the dead. His Roman name is Pluto, god of wealth, which pertains to the precious metals hidden in earth. His wife was Persephone, the daughter of Zeus and Demeter, whom he abducted and made the queen of the lower world. He was portrayed as the god who has a far-famed cup or helmet, which made whoever wears it invisible.
The Olympian who sprung from Zeus' head was Athena, whose Roman name was Minerva. She had no mother who gave birth to her, yet she was the favorite child of Zeus. In fact, he trusted her enough to carry his aegis, his buckler, and his thunderbolt, all of which are very precious to him. Athena was the city protectress, who preserved civilized life as well as agriculture and handicraft. She was the ruthless yet reasonable goddess of war. Hence, she is the representation of wisdom, reason, and purity. Often, she was described as gray-eyed or flashing-eyed maiden who was superior among the three virgin goddesses, along with Vesta and Artemis. She was also called Parthenos, as her temple was the Parthenon. Athena's special city was the Athens. She created her very own olive tree, and her bird was the owl.
Another is Phoebus Apollo. Phoebus Apollo is the son of Zeus in Leto, so he is called the most Greek of all the gods. He is the archer god, the healer, the god of light, and the god of truth, which illuminates the sun, music, and purity. He had been given numerous names. As such, he was called Delian from Delos, Pythian from his killing of a serpent, Lycian as a wolf god, and Smithian as the mouse god. So his principal duty also served as a way to make peace between men and the gods. So his tree was laurel. Many creatures were sacred to him, chief among them the dolphin and the crow.
Artemis, or Diana in Roman, is the twin sister of Apollo. Thus her parents were also Zeus and Leto, the daughter of Coeus and Phoebe. She was born in Mount Cynthus in Delos, and so she was also called Cynthia. Artemis was one of the three maiden Olympian goddesses. She was the lady of wild things, and although it was odd for women, she was the huntsman-in-chief. She was also the protectress of dewy youth. However, it was uncertain whether she was on the good or the evil side, because in other stories, she was revengeful. She uses her silver arrows to slay women in swift and painless ways. She was the goddess with three forms. She is Selene in the sky, a goddess of moon, Artemis on earth, the goddess of wild animals, and Hecate in lower world and the world above when it is pure darkness, thus the goddess of the dark of the moon. The cypress is her sacred tree, and all the wild animals, most especially the deer, are also sacred to her.
Aphrodite is the daughter of Zeus and Dione. Her Roman name is Venus, so she is the goddess of love and beauty, who attracts all. She who laughed sweetly and mockingly at those who were tricked by her charm holds the power over men in the figure of treacherous and malicious. However, she was also portrayed as a soft and weak creature which mortals could not fear to attack. Her husband is Hephaestus, whom is the lame and ugly god of the forge. Her tree was myrtle, while the dove, sparrow, and swan were her symbols.
Hermes, whose Roman name is Mercury, is a child of Zeus with another of his endless love affairs, this time with Maia, the daughter of Atlas. He was the messenger of Zeus. He was also the most sharp-witted and most deceptive god. The master thief who stole Apollo's herds when he was just a day old. Nonetheless, he was forgiven as he invented the lyre through the shell of the tortoise and gave it to Apollo. He was the god of commerce and the market, who protects the traders. On the other hand, he was also the divine herald who solemnly guides the dead down to their final homes. He was a god who is present in most myths. He even has a statue, making him one of the most popular gods. He was portrayed as the god whose possessions always have wings on them, particularly his sandals, his low-crowned hat, and his caduceus, or his magic wand.
Next is Ares. Ares is the oldest son of Zeus and Hera and is the most unloved god. His Roman name is Mars, so he is the god of war, which is shown as a hateful character as he was portrayed as murderous, blood-stained, incarnate curse of mortals, and a coward. However, Romans perceived Mars in a distinct way, a much better way. For them, Mars was magnificent in shining armor, redoubtable, and invincible. He does not come from any particular city, but Vogel said that he came from Thrace. So, Thrace is the home for rude and fierce people. And then Ares' bird is a vulture, and the dog was certainly wrong to be recognized as his animal. Another Olympian is Hephaestus. Hephaestus is the son of Zeus and Hera. His Roman names are Vulcan and Milciber. He is the god of fire. However, of all the gods and goddesses, he is the only one who does not get to have a perfect figure for his title, as he was shown as ugly and lame god. He was full of hatred towards his parents because of how he becomes what he is. Nevertheless, in Homer, he is highly honored and perceived to give no harm, but rather a huge help in forging their armors and weapons, which made him, together with Athena, a patron of handicrafts, arts, and agriculture. In fact, he is kind, peace-loving god and popular, and regardless of his appearance, his wife was Aphrodite, which is the goddess of love and beauty. So this god was portrayed to have a symbolic hammer.
Hestia, whose Roman name is Vesta, was a sister of Zeus, and she was one of the three Olympian virgin goddesses. She was the goddess of the hearth and considered the symbol of the dwellings. Before families received their newborn babies, it seemed to be a tradition to carry them around their home. Also, prior and after every meal, families offer sweet wine to Hestia. In every city, there is a public hearth wherein the flame must be maintained, and they are sacred to her. In Rome, there are Vestals or 6 virgin priestesses who took care for her fire. The next topic, which is the lesser gods of Olympus, will be discussed by Ma'am May Asistio.
Good day, I am May Asistio and I will be discussing the lesser god of Olympus. There were other divinities in heaven besides the 12 great Olympians. The most important of them was the god of love Eros, or Cupid in Latin. Eros is known as the serious youth who gives good gifts to men. He is often seen carrying a bow and arrow, firing darts, and playing lyre or flute. In the early poets, Eros is a companion of Aphrodite, but later on, he became the mischievous son of Aphrodite. He also represented as blindfolded because love is blind. So we have here Erotes. Erotes are the winged god of love and the multiplication of god Eros. They are purely creatures of poetic invention with no distinct mythology of their own. First we have here Eros. Eros is the eldest, the god of love. Anteros is the god of mutual love or love returned. Yet he is also an avenger of unrequited love. So you know who you're calling to. Hello Anteros, pakiparusahan nga yung crush ko kasi hindi ako na-crush back. Like that. Char. And next we have Hymen. He is the god of wedding peace. And lastly, Himeros is the god of sexual desire and longing. And next we have Hebe. Hebe is the daughter of Zeus and Hera. She is the goddess of youth or the prime of life. She is the cupbearer for the gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus, serving their nectar and ambrosia until she married Heracles or Hercules in Romance. Next we have Iris. Iris is the personification of the rainbow, and in Homer's Iliad, she is the messenger of the gods, a daughter of Thomas and ocean nymph Electra. In Hesiod's, she had the additional duty to carry water from the river Styx in the vase-shaped jar whenever the gods take a solemn oath. Let's move on to the two bands of lovely sisters. The three graces, namely Aglaya or the splendor, Euprosine the mirth, and Thalia for good cheer, which represents beauty, arts, and joy. The Graces are the daughter of Zeus and Eurynome, a child of the Titan Ocean. These Graces can be seen as always holding hands and not treated as separate personalities. They dance gracefully to Apollo's lyre, and they please anyone with the Muses when they dance in the banquet. Did you know that the beautiful one of the Graces, Aglaya, married Hephaestus, which is the son of Hera, the ugliest god in the Olympus? Moving on, the Muses are 9 beautiful ladies entitled as Queens of Song. Along with the Graces, in the banquet they sing. They are the daughter of Zeus and Mnemosyne, or Memory. According to Hesiod, they are all and they were not distinguished from each other and always one mind and heart. Sinabi rin ni Hesiod na kung ang mga lalaki ay nabibigatan ang loob, ay nakakalimutan nila ang problema nila kapag kumakanta ang mga muses. So, who are these muses? First, we have Clio, the muses of history, Urania, the muses of astronomy, Melpomene, muse of tragedy, Thalia, muse of comedy, Terpsichore, muse of dance, Calliope, muse of epic poetry, Erato, muse of love poetry, Polyhymnia, muse of songs to the gods, and last we have Euterpe, muse of lyric poetry. Next we have Themis and Dike. These are the two august forms sat beside Zeus in Olympus. Themis is the personification of justice, good counsel, and interpreter of God's will. She is the second consort of Zeus. Dike is the daughter of Zeus and Themis, which means justice and law of customs. So Dike is the goddess of human justice. Next we have Nemesis and Idos. Nemesis means righteous anger and resentment caused by any disturbance of this right proportion or mayroong sense of justice, while Eidos means reverence, shame, modesty, and respect. This is the feeling of shame for man in wrongdoing or for wealthy people to the impoverished and human limitations in egoism, self-centeredness, arrogance, and pride. These two are not living with the gods. These two are not living with the gods. Nakatira sila sa mundo ng mga mortal at aalis lang kung sobrang sama na ng mga tao. Like, wala nang natitirang pagpapakumbaba or puro self-centeredness, puro arrogance and pride na yung namamayani sa mundo. To summarize the lesser gods in the Olympus, we have here Eros, the god of love, Hebe, the goddess of youth, Iris, the goddess of rainbow, the three muses, or the triple incarnation of beauty, arts, and joy, namely Aglaya, Euprosine, and Thalia, and the muses, or the queens of songs, Clio, Urania, Melpomene, Thalia, Terpsichore, Calliope, and Crito, Polyhymnia, and Euterpe. Lastly, we have Themis and Dike, the divine justices, and Nemesis and Eidos. Moving on to the next topic, the god of the waters. First, we have Poseidon, or Neptune in Romance. He is the lord and ruler of the sea, earthquake, and horses. Poseidon was eaten by their father Cronus at birth, and Zeus tricked Cronus to disgorge him. And then, nagtulungan sila ni Zeus at ng mga kapatid niya na paalisin yung tatay nila si Cronus. And next we have Ocean, the lord of the river Ocean. Ocean is a titan as well as his wife Thetis. Ocean is the lord of the river called Ocean, a body of water whom surrounded the earth's landforms. Ocean's daughter are called the nymphs of the river Ocean, and sons of the ocean are gods of all the rivers on earth. He is fond of all earth fresh waters like rivers, wells, springs, and rain clouds. And next we have Pontus, Pontus' name means sea. He is a sea god and a primordial deity. He is the son of Gaia and the father of his sibling Nereus. So Nereus is his son and Gaia is his mother. Nero's mother is Gaia. So, nagkaanak siya sa kanyang ina. And next we have Nereus. He was called the Old Man of the Sea or Mediterranean Sea. He is such a good man and never lies. So, sana all, hindi nagsisinungaling. He is the husband of Doris, daughter of Ocean, and they had 50 lovely daughters. One is called Thetis, the mother of Achilles, and the other one is Amphitrite, asawa ni Poseidon. And here we have Triton, the trumpeter of the sea. Triton is the son of Poseidon and Amphitrite. Triton lived in a golden palace and raised her daughter Pallas and Zeus' daughter Athena. He taught Pallas and Athena the art of war. Next we have Proteus, the god of seal, or the shapeshifter and foreteller. He is an old man of the sea and shepherd of sea flax or seal. He can change his body at will and tell the future. Others have said that he is son of Poseidon. He is son of Poseidon and sometimes an attendant of Poseidon. Next, we have the Naiads, the water nymphs or the minor goddesses. The Naiads are the minor goddesses and nymphs of rivers, streams, lakes, marshes, fountain, and springs. Lastly, we have Leucothea, Palaemon, and Glaucus, the divinities of the sea. Leucothea is said to be the sea goddess who rescues sailors, and Palaemon is the son of Leucothea, while Glaucus is the sea god who born mortal and turned immortal upon eating a magical herb. Luffy, char. No, it's not Luffy, it's Glaucus. But these three divinities are not that important. So, to summarize all the god of the waters, so we have Poseidon, the lord and ruler of the sea, Ocean, the lord of the river Ocean, Pontus, the god of sea, Nereus, the old man of the sea or the Mediterranean Sea, Triton, the trumpeter of the sea, Proteus, the god of seal, old man of the sea also, the Naiads, the minor goddesses and water nymphs, and Leucothea, Palaemon, and Glaucus, the sea gods and divinities of sea. Thank you for listening. The next topic, which is the underworld, will be discussed by Sir Dave Jefferson Pagbilao.
Good morning, my name is Dave Jefferson D. Pagbilao. So, the topic that I will be discussing is all about the underworld. Contrary to what we often perceive, the underworld is not as bad as it seems. Rather, it serves its purpose to maintain the cycle of life and death. Also, this is not just a place for unceasing torment for the sinners, but also there is a region here where it is sometimes called the Greek paradise, which will later be mentioned along my discussion. So with no further ado, let me begin by sectioning the content of this discussion. First, we will be tackling the overview of what to envision when we talk about the underworld, and that includes where it is found, its entrances, its division, as well as the rivers that comprise the underworld. The second and the last section will be the gods and the creatures that resided or inhabited the underworld. To start with the first section, there are two poems that gave different views on where to find the region of the underworld. In the poem Iliad, the underworld lies beneath the secret places of the earth, while in the poem Odyssey, it leads over the edge of the world across the ocean. So to sum up the key points, the first one said that the underworld is found beneath the earth, while the other one said that it is found across the ocean. As for the entrances to the underworld, it can be accessed through caverns and beside deep lakes. In the divisions of the underworld, there are two, namely Erebus and Tartarus. Erebus is a place of the underworld where the dead pass directly as they die. So when a person dies, their spirit or soul go through this division. Tartarus. Tartarus is the lower region of the underworld that serves as a prison for the sons of the earth. This is where they are punished and tormented. However, there are no distinction between these two divisions of the underworld because both are used interchangeably to refer to the lower region of the underworld, especially the Tartarus. Aside from these, There are also 5 rivers that can be found in the underworld. The first one is Acheron, which is the river of woe, Cocytus, which is the river of lamentation, Phlegethon, which is the river of fire, Styx, which is the river of unbreakable oath, and Lethe, which is the river of forgetfulness. For additional knowledge, the underworld also monopolizes men's dreams. They comes beneath, then they eventually ascended to men. However, before these dreams ascended to men, they first passed through either 2 gates, which are Horn Gate, in which true dreams pass, and Ivory Gate, in which false dreams pass. As for the last section of my discussion, let us now introduce the gods and the creatures that inhabited the underworld, starting from the most renowned king and queen, which is Hades and Persephone. After the downfall and demise of the Titan Cronus, the 3 Olympians Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades decided to take control over the main regions of the earth. Zeus took over the sky, Poseidon to the sea, and finally Hades to the underworld. That is why Hades is the king of the underworld. After Hades became the king, he met and fell in love at first glance to a beautiful maiden, Persephone, which is the daughter of the goddess of harvest, Demeter. Hades sought help to his brother Zeus, and eventually he abducted Persephone and made her the queen of the underworld. Charon. Charon is the ferryman or boatman of the underworld who fetch and leads the souls to their next shore. This creature in the underworld solely recognizes those dead souls that are duly buried and those who can provide proper compensation, or what we call passage money. Cerberus. Cerberus is the 3-headed dragon-tailed guard dog who sits before the gate of the underworld. It permits spirits to enter but never allow anyone to return. Radamanthus, Minos, and Aeacus. After passing the gate of the underworld, spirits are subjected to go to these 3 judges of the underworld who will pass sentence to them, either to go to the place of torment or to the Elysian fields, a blessed place for heroic figures, kings, and others who were worthy to be there. The last creature that reside in the underworld are called the Erinyes or the Furies. They are known for the names of Tisiphone, Megaira, and Alecto, which are considered to be the ministers of justice of the underworld, for they are the ones who punish evildoers. They are known to be unstoppable but are just in their punishment. So that ends my discussion. And the next reporter who will report the topic, which is the lesser gods of earth, will be Mr. Peter Escalona.
Good day. My name is Peter S. Escalona. In this portion of the report, I will discuss about the lesser gods of earth. Among the Greek gods and goddesses, there are particular deities who are close to the heart of the people, and divinities and creatures that are neither human nor divine that lived on earth. Some of them are known for they are often mentioned, like the supreme deities of the earth, Demeter, who is also known as Ceres, the goddess of the corn, and Dionysus, who is also called Bacchus, the god of wine. Both of them are considered mankind's best friends, while others rarely appeared in Greek mythology. These are the lesser gods or goddesses and other supernatural beings. The former will be discussed and elaborated by the next group, while the latter, as I mentioned earlier, will be my focus in this discussion. In lesser gods of earth, the first on the list is Hermes' son named Pan, a noisy and merry god. He is known as a goatherd's god or shepherd's god who is a wonderful musician. He has goat's horns and goat's hoofs instead of feet. He lived in wild places, and out of all, his favorite place is Arcady, the place where he was born. In Greek mythology, it is believed that the sounds heard in the wilderness at night by the traveler are produced by him. The second is Pan's son, who is sometimes, based on other accounts, his brother Silenus. He is described as a jovial, fat man who is always drunk. He was a companion of the god of wine Dionysus and became his devoted follower actually, later on. The third is the great twin brethren Castor and Pollux. They were usually represented as being gods and the special protectors of sailors. Many accounts said that they lived half of their life on earth and half in heaven. They are sons of Leda, the wife of King Tyndareus of Sparta. They are best known as the Dioscuri or the striplings of Zeus. On the other hand, they were also called sons of Tyndareus. In all these stories they are part of, they usually played unimportant roles except in Castor's death, when Pollux proved his devotion towards his brother. After an incident that caused Castor's death, Zeus allowed Pollux to share his life with his brother. The fourth one is Aulus, who is also known as the King of the Winds. He was a regent of the winds and viceroy of gods. He lived on the island named Aeolia. In the reference book, Edith Hamilton also mentioned the four chief winds along with Aulus. These are Boreas, the north wind, Zephyr, the west wind, Nautilus, the south wind, and the east wind, Eurus. The fifth one are the lovely maidens and inferior or minor divinities of woodland, the nymphs. Oreads are the nymphs of the mountains, while dryads, sometimes called hamadryads, are the nymphs of the trees. The sixth are the Sileni. They have features of a horse. They have horses' hoofs instead of feet, sometimes horses' ears, and always horses' tails. There are no stories about them, but they are often seen in Greek vases. The seventh are the Satyrs. Like Pan, they are goat men who lived in wild places of the earth. Aside from the divinities, there were also non-divine supernatural beings who had their home on the earth. The first one of them are the centaurs. They are half man and half horse. Based on the accounts about them, they look like savage creatures and more like beasts than men. One of them is Chiron. Unlike other centaurs, he was famous everywhere for his wisdom and knowledge. The second are the children of Phorcys, the Gorgons. They are described as dragon-like creatures with wings. Like the famous Greek mythology character Medusa, those who meet their eyes turn into stone. The third one are the three sisters, the Graiae, who lived on the farther bank of ocean. They are commonly known as three old women who shared one eye among them. The fourth are the Sirens, who lived on an island in the sea. Their singing lured sailors to their death. Their appearance is unknown, for no one who saw them ever returned. Apart from the mentioned, there are three goddesses who are assigned no abode whether in heaven or on the earth. These are the Fates, who are also known as Moirae in Greek and Parcae in Latin. They are three goddesses who assign destinies. Clotho spins the thread of life, Lachesis assigns to each man his destiny, and Atropos cuts the thread at death. That's all for the lesser gods of Earth. The next topic, which is the Roman gods, will be discussed by Sir Dave.
Moving on to the last topic, which is the Roman gods. As we all know, all the Greek gods and goddesses, or specifically the 12 great Olympians, have Roman version of their names. Like for instance, Jupiter for Zeus, Juno for Hera, Neptune for Poseidon, Vesta for Hestia, Mars for Ares, Minerva for Athena, Venus for Aphrodite, Mercury for Hermes, Diana for Artemis, Vulcan or Mulciber for Hephaestus, Ceres for Demeter, Pluto for Hades, and Bacchus for Dionysus. Apollo is the only Olympian who maintains its name, but with that aside, the main reason why these Olympians have Roman names is that the influence of Greek art and literature monopolizes the Rome, leading to the mentioned country to eventually resembles and considered the Greek gods and ancient Roman deities to be the same. However, before that, Romans also have their ancient deities which are not concerned with aesthetics contrary to the Greeks, but for the practicality of life. These ancient Roman deities were called nomina, which is literally translated as will powers or power of the will. There are enormous nomina in the Roman. Two of the most prominent are called Lares and Penates. Lares are considered to be the spirits of the Roman family's dead ancestor, which eventually became a divine who now serves as that family's guardian. Penates, on the other hand, was known to Roman as gods of the hearth and guardians of the storehouse. Thus, they are also associated with the Greek goddess of hearth, Hestia or Vesta. Lares and Penates are a group of deities or gods who protected the family and the Roman state. They are not worshipped on sacred places but solely at home. Aside from these two, there were also many numina connected with the life of the household, such as Terminus, which is the guardian of boundaries. What we mean by boundaries here is property boundaries. The next one is Priapus, which is the cause or causes of fertility. Pallas, which is the strengthener of the animal cattle, and Silvanus, which is the helper of plowmen and woodcutters. The next numina is Saturn. Saturn was known to Roman as the protector of the sowers and the seed. Hence to say, he is also said to be the Roman version of the Greek titan Cronus, who is also known to be the god of harvest and agriculture. Janus. Janus is the Roman god of good beginnings, in which will also result to good endings. More so, he represents concrete and abstract dualities such as life and death, young and old, etc., perhaps because of his two-faced feature. Faunus. Faunus is Saturn's grandson. He was like a Pan in Greek. He is a prophet too and spoke to men on their dreams. Fauns. Fauns were like Roman satyrs because, as can be seen, they have similar features of a horse. Quirinus. Quirinus was the name of the deified and worshipped founder of Rome named Romulus. The Manes. The Manes were the spirit of the good. Sometimes they were regarded as divine and worshipped just like the Lares as mentioned earlier. The Lemures or the Larvae. The Lemures or the Larvae were contrary to the Manes because they are spirits of the wicked dead and were greatly feared. We also have the Kamenai. They are useful and practical goddesses who cared for springs and wells and cured disease and foretold the future. However, when the Greek gods dominated the Rome, they are identified or regarded as the nine muses who cared only for art and science. Lucina. Lucina was sometimes regarded as a Roman Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth and the offspring of Zeus and Hera. However, in the later poets, usually the name Lucina is used to describe both Juno and Diana. The last one will be Pomona and Vertumnus. They are Roman ancient deities who have the powers of protecting orchards and gardens, but they were personified later and a story was told about how they fell in love with each other. So that ends our discussion about the topic, the gods.